No one jumped on the Blade suicidal thing, and it's still stuck in my head. Does anyone else see that as like an underlying?
Where do you hear that he's suicidal?
I made it up. Yeah, just to be clear.
I thought you were just making a joke.
No, this is a guy who's drank himself to diabetes. And I'm influenced by Boogie, who's come on the show and said that his morbid obesity was a slow-acting suicide, which I think I heard from another heavy person too. And I'm just looking at Blade and thinking that his slow alcohol thing is an acceptance of the fact that he's okay with a life that ends at, I don't know, 40. And
I think he's just a man that really likes Jaeger. I think that's what we've got here. This is a guy who, you know.
I think Woody, your point requires a little bit more reflection, right? Like that's like step 3. If you only want to think to step 2, does it mean that you want step 3, or does it just mean you're not fucking paying any attention
or
to
you've
that?
Accepted step 3? I don't know. It's just like I think
you had another guy on here on the PKA. I can't remember his name. Shoe something.
Shoe Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Shoe Nice. He's not. His end looks very similar, in my opinion.
Boogie's much more of a thinker than Shoe Nice seems to be.
Sure, but this guy, judging only from his teeth picture,
I think of Blade as a thinker also.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know him.
I won't ask you to step in, but yeah, I think of Blade as a thinker too, and just a guy who's accepted that while most people wouldn't want to go here, he's like, fuck it, I'll go.
I don't think he's thinking about much at all. I think he stays drunk most of the time and sort of like falls forward through life, you know, just what, you know, he's never struck me as a real, I mean, you know.
But what he was saying, the opposite.
Drinks and he screams and he parties.
So why is he doing it, Woody? If he's thinking, why?
Why is he doing it?
Yeah.
Well, he's addicted, and there's like a pleasure-pain balance, and the pleasure he gets from taking the wrong road is worse than the pain that he ggets from taking the right road. And he's just not looking the long term at the pain it takes to go to the right way. Maybe I didn't lay that out right? But I think like a lot of people make decisions to skip class, to go to class, etc. There's a short-term pleasure pain equation and a long-term one. And he's putting too much emphasis on the short one and has decided that if that leads to suicide, fuck it, I'll accept that. It's still the winning equation for him. Like there is no long-term pain. There's just death.
Even you think with like losing a leg, that wouldn't be a wake the fuck up moment for most people?
I've had that.
Like it would be for most people.
Takes less alcohol to get drunk.
Sure.
I've had that same thought process. Like, how is this not his wake-up call? How is this not his wake-up call? You know, I could even understand it when it was the first little sore. It didn't look as serious to me as it did to everybody else. And then it was a bigger sore, and then it's like multiple large, deep sores. And, you know, I'm like, whoa, all right. So this is real, like, even to my untrained eye who keeps looking at this through a favorable light, this looks like foot-losing shit. But, you know, that didn't wake him up. The teeth aren't waking up.
I do think it has to go a really long way before he'll actually lose the foot. I was watching, when I was in prison, I was watching, I think it was either people doing crocodile or something similar. It's this intravenous drug that they do in Russia a lot, and it makes your flesh rot. And this guy had been shooting it, I think, into his foot, but I just remember like he unbandages the foot, and the doctor's like, it looks atrocious. Like imagine a foot that looks blackened and like splotchy and like rotten.
Exposed bone?
A little.
Okay.
A little. Like, yeah. And the doctor's like, oh, this is much better. And I'm like, what the fuck? She's like, yeah, I think you've got a good chance of keeping it, but stay off the crocodile, am I right? And he's like, this is when Alex decided to go score some more crocodile. He's like, she said I'm doing great.
Yeah. I almost broke and Googled what a amputation diabetic foot would look like, but I'm not gonna.
The link goes right to our OnlyUseMeBlade.
Yeah. But I might at some point I wonder, like, what does a pre-amputation foot look like? How bad does it have to be for diabetes?
I feel like an asshole talking about Blade like this, to be honest. Like I do like Blade as a guy. Like all my interactions with him, like I've really enjoyed his company.
Independent though, right? You can like a guy and still think his decisions are stupid.
I think that's where I am. Where like I wish he would. I'm almost saying these things because I wish that he would stop hurting himself. I am saying them that for that reason. Also because it's funny and that's my job to make people laugh. But I really don't like what he's doing here to himself. It's fucked. It's hard to watch. It's like this is the
And
sort
like you get some variation of this, like WWF or something, right? Like a WWE rather, right? Like where people are fucking slamming their bodies into shit for the short term of like the money and the payoff and the fucking entertainment and whatever. And there's some iteration of that here, but like this feels worse, right?
Yeah, something about like the kind of harm that he's doing to himself, you know, like a broken leg would be so much better.
Yeah, this is
infinitely
irreparable.
better. Some of this might be irreparable, and like I'm not a doctor, you know. We
What?
You know what I'm saying is like everything we know about medical stuff sort of like comes from our internet and Netflix binging and stuff like that. However, like you've got to know that like the difference between an injury that's there because of an external source versus an internal one is vast. You know, like
Amputation's a bad thing.
amputation's a terrible thing.
Amputation.
Yeah, it doesn't grow back.
But point being, for like, but this goes back to Woody's point. Then, like,
Unless
in some sense,
you're
like, what do you do with this? like, what do you do with it? This person is clearly on a path to something.
There's nothing to be done.
there's
for
nothing
him.
to do.
Sure, there is.
Like he's his
There's
own
nothing
man.
You can't do like unless he wants to. Like it's like with anyone who's doing coke or drinking, like or an alcoholic or a drug addict. Like you can send him to rehab, you can do all sorts of stuff, but until the day comes where they're like, "I want this to stop," nothing's gonna change.
Even
Sure.
food.
But what's your? I don't know. What are you all's relationship? He's been on the show a couple times. A friend of yours?
No, I don't know that he's. If he has,
He has been on the
6-7
show a
years.
long time ago.
It's probably been
I
6 or
really
7
don't
years.
know him.
I hung out with him at like 2 or 3 events or something like that, and you know had a couple private conversations. I don't know. He gave me a blunt one time. We smoked that. You know that's about it. And also, I think the real connection is that like we were all kinds of fans of his back in the day. Like we were sort of a community of people who made this Call of Duty content, and everybody tried to pick their own flavor, you know. And some people really excelled at becoming their own flavor. And some people failed it. I think Woody and I were great at creating our own flavors of content, right? Like he had a very specific thing that he.
No
did.
one else was in my space. Yeah.
They really weren't. The adult who could sort of educate you on adult things because you're sort of at a coming of age sort of thing. It's nice to get advice from somebody who's actually done these things. And you know, some people went for goofy and zany and funny, and Blade had his own flavor with his thing. He was real chill and laid back. Hey guys, Blade here, and he stabbed people with a knife. So his content's completely different than anybody else's. Everybody, the one thing that everybody did, he doesn't even do. And you know, so we were kind of fans of his back there. I watched his content very regularly, and now to see, you know, like 10 years later, and he appears to have his teeth rotting out of his head. He appears to be very unhealthy. He's got some sort of necrosis on his foot, and he's surrounded himself with people who think that's funny.
Yeah,
and so you know,
use it for content.
Yeah, it's real fucked up. It really is. I can't imagine being one of the people who watches the stream and laughs about it. There's something about the separation of being here and discussing it. But like, I don't know. I see like I've seen clips of them like in his chat, and like you can read the chat, and they're like, "Poor Jaeger in the wound," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And they did pour Jaeger in the wound.
Did it help?
Yeah, it healed right up.
See that you probably feel foolish now.
What if he lit it on fire?
Yeah, if he puts it like Rambo, he put a little gunpowder in it.
That's how you heal it.
It wouldn't be that bad. It'd kill any infection in there. It'd cauterize it.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't make blood start flowing again.
It'd stop the
you run
blood
out
from
of
flowing.
content when you run out of limbs then? With the model like that?
Eventually you will if you're diabetic and you don't do anything about it and you drink the sugariest liquid on earth.
I think Taylor was the one that said he was going to be like Oscar Pistorius. He was going to be only use me Blade Runner.
Yeah, only use me blade legs. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And you know, that could be the next chapter here. Not
What if he
likely.
became like a Paralympic athlete? That's where this went. And it all came full circle. And he was like, you know, back in the day, I had people left and right saying, "Put the bottle down. Put the bottle down." Well, look at me now, world. 3 gold medals. Beautiful wife. I'm the fastest man on blades. He's already got the social media presence. Everything's already
Right.
named. Only use me
it's
blade. He's on a box of wheat. He's just
Someone's got to
Fucking-
Photoshop that.
fit. He's just fucking fit. He's ripped. He's literally the fastest man alive. Because I think can those Blade Runner guys run faster than just a regular
have
runner?
superpowers. Yeah, the only people who can compete with them.
None of them have
Human
come
retention.
in
I haven't
years.
ejaculated in 4 years.
I don't think they
I
are
run
faster than
65
Usain
miles
Bolt.
per hour.
But there's
Only
no
the
way to
Beaver could
know.
keep up.
I'm pretty sure that they're not only faster, Woody, but much faster.
I think the world speed record for using those blade legs is 37 miles an hour. I mean, that's ridiculous.
It sounds right.
That does sound right.
It's almost unbelievable.
Not for me. I could
totally
easily
accurate,
believe
though.
that.
You put a Kenyan in those things? Whew.
Which
He's getting pulled over by the cops. He's going so fast.
Happens a lot.
Yeah,
They're not taking him alive.
even when he's stationary.
He's got a knife or something on his leg.
Weapons down. It's like that Edward Scissorhands scene. He's like,
You put them on their arms, they run like cheetahs, then they go feral.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, put them on their arms. That's an interesting idea. Get them